Hi, buddy. Welcome to Estate Sale Anecdotes number 1, episode 1, I should say, Scratch the Cat. My mother and I just finished our latest estate sale just yesterday at a lovely town in Wisconsin called the Eagle. And there might be a few anecdotes to come out of this one, but one of them is about a friend of mine I met this weekend named Scratch. So they had a basement with a room in it that ran the length of the building. And that was the worst of the clutter we found in this specific home. And it smelled like a basement in a bad way. The rest of the basement was finished. This smelled like it water damaged and black mold and mouse droppings, which indeed we found all three in this specific part of the area. So we really knew as we were setting up that we weren't going to be able to sell much of the objects that we found in this specific spot. The records, for instance, were completely fused together. A lot of the albums, the cardboard had fused because of moisture and all that. So it's a bit of what you'd call a shit show. But I will say this much about it. I thought anyway that it was our duty to check out and see what we could find for potential sale at that pit of hell. Anyway, so I went and I found a few things. Stereo equipment, Pioneer stereo equipment. I was on the fence about taking it out of that little basement area at all because it had that stink unique to that area of the house, but I took it out anyway, and I think I put on an average of $64 for the price of some of that Pioneer stuff. Couldn't tell you what it did. It was a box this big and it just said Pioneer and it had dials. 64, 84, 48 was some of the prices on that. We sold a lot of that day one. Of the 8 units I brought out, we sold 5 on day one, so that's good for $250 probably, let's say. So that was worth it. But another thing I noticed was that there was a few Lego booklets. Earlier, I had found those in the house. Lego instruction booklets in a Lego magazine or whatever. So I knew at some point, this old couple had either themselves or had a child who had been interested in Lego, which is, of course, exciting to me. I love the stuff, and I happen to know what it's worth for the most part. I was shooting from the cuff for the... I can kind of tell you that Legos are going to be worth something or not, and the vintage stuff always is. So I was looking for Legos. So it's up to my elbows in mice shite and black mold breathing this in. I don't wear a mask or gloves or anything, and I wear sandals so my toes are exposed. I got the bottoms of my, not to be too fetishy or whatever. I can see why people get into it. Those are cute. But the bottoms of my feet were black with mice. And not that I was barefoot, but just being around the shit. It's a dirty business. Anyway, I knew it was up to me to see if I could find some of these Legos. And I found 3 or 4 boxes and laundry baskets that were a little bit of Lego, a little bit of action figure limbs and mishmash pieces, and a lot of nesting material and mice shit. Like they had gone and set up a little city for themselves in this old bucket of miscellaneous kids' toys. There are 3 or 4 buckets of them. So I took those toys upstairs and painstakingly removed all of the Legos, a piece at a time, from this nest of paper, shit, dirt, filth, mold. I got the Legos out a piece at a time. I was able to kind of get those cleaned off and airing off and get some of the, get them breathing outside of that basement arena. And then I also started finding these Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle toys. I knew some of them by sight, of course, the Donatellos and Raphaels and Michelangelos of the world. That if one where you click Mikey's head in, you squeeze his legs and the head pops back out of the turtle shell, cool stuff like that. And then based on the proportions of those figurines, I knew that when I started to find a Ninja Rabbit and well, I know Bebop by sight, but I knew when I found a bunny and I found a robot and I found a beaked horror-looking thing, I knew those were probably Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles too, because of the very fact that they looked about the same size, were about the same material. Some of the plastic had begun to degrade a little bit, so there's a bit of a stick to them. When they were too sticky, I threw them out. When they were missing limbs, I threw them out. Because we're not dirt farmers and we can't have a bunch of broken crap on the table when we're selling at these estate sales. So I looked those up one at a time because Bebop transformed from a human to a bull or whatever. No, Bebop is a pig. Okay, Bebop is the hog, and then Rocksteady's the rhino. Anyway, the transforming Rocksteady was worth 12, whereas Michelangelo was worth, help me out here, 6 4, whatever. So I was looking him up on eBay, and then I found a good friend of mine, Scratch the Cat. And he happened to be worth, on eBay, if he didn't have his tail, we look at how it has sold. You go to eBay and sold, because it doesn't matter what people are asking for it. On eBay, he had sold for, without his tail, $600. This one had his tail, which means he sold for about $1,000. So I put about $650, in fact I did, $650 price tag on him. We always do 2/3 retail so that the resellers come in excited on day one and spend good coin. So, that was a price sticker day one. My mom was nervous about someone possibly just, of course, stealing it off of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle table right when they walked in, pocketing this little cat in a prison jumpsuit and getting away with $650. So we put it instead hanging on a nail behind the checkout with a giant blue tape arrow on the wall that said "Scratch the Cat, $650." And we got people in. My wife helped out at this sale, and it was a rural area, so she slept in a hammock out in the woods in the back area of this sales yard. Plenty of trees to hang from, these hand-planted firs of some kind, planted 30 years ago by the previous homeowner. She was sleeping there, and so she was able to give us the intel that about 1 in the morning, where shoppers started to show up for the sale that would open up at 8 o'clock. And they started forming a sign-up sheet and getting ready to get in line or what have you. So one of those very first people who came right around 1 o'clock, he and 3 other guys that were he and 2 other guys that were the first on the list. When we have a sign-up sheet, we go, you go from 1 to 10, or 1 through 100, you sign up your name or whatever. They were numbers like 1, 2, and 3. These guys were in it to win it for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff. But the guy who came earliest, as far as I understand, they were within the first 10 at least. But the guy who was the earliest on the list for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff, as soon as we opened the door, they all sprinted towards the Teenage Turtle table, and they were shuffling up and picking up the Michelangelo and the Rocksteady and the Usakai or whatever the buddy's name is, and they were throwing those into their shopping baskets. And then the first guy who had been there earlier said, "Hey, where's Scratch the Cat?" And Mom pointed right behind her, and he looked at it in $650. He's like, okay, so can I see it? And she's like, sure. So she hands it to him, and he's thinking about it, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna do it. So he was all in at $650 full price that first day, which was great. And the guy behind him was like, hey, I'm buying for a buddy. I'll give you $800 for it right now, right today. And the guy looked at it. The guy who had got it, my mom had to tell me this because I was back in the gun room selling guns all day. He was this happened to be a heavy rifle sale. Anyway, the guy was shaking there, holding his little fucking Scratch the Cat, and the guy offers him $800 instead of $650, so he'd make a quick $150. And he's like, you know what? This is the second time in my life I've held one of these, and he ended up taking it. Good for him. And that is the anecdote of the first little anecdote of this series, which might fizzle out immediately or might go on for hundreds of episodes. But that just goes to show you it's worth being up to your elbows in mice shit sometimes, so you can find, when the mice are away, except the few dead ones we found, the cats come to play, like Scratch the Cat. Maybe that's the anecdote of the day. All that to say, yeah, we got 1/3 of everything we sold. So I was up to my elbows in shit for 1/3 of $650, so 200 and some change. But it took me about 10 hours to get through all that mice shit processing for separating the Legos and then going out for the Pioneer boxes of shit. So breathing in black mold for about I earned about like $20 an hour for the sale, if that makes sense at that point. Was that worth it? I'll let you decide. Anyway, thanks for joining me, and who knows, maybe I'll see you again sometime. Bye.